I'm on live. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Troll coming in with all the best things in the world. Anyway, well, I've been thinking some more. Probably think some more. Maybe a tiny bit more. I was listening and you guys are just like, where's your home? You homeless? So the answer is no to that question. The second thing is, I'm a beast in this game. And I got this guy. So right now, what we're gonna be doing, if you can see in the right hand corner, it says it's my objective. Right now what I want to do, I want to try to get me a baby dragon. If I could do it. This is the over one. And the rest usually be over 3 and then stuff like that. Right now I'm only trying to get into Uber 1. And then 250. My power rank right now is 210. Now in order to get a baby dragon, you need to go where all the bones are. So I decided to go into this one. That way I can get some bones. That way I can do some business. Now again, I am higher. But only because I won levels, I'm gonna have to go. Wait, here's my house level. That's what I should have. That's this. These different me. It's okay. This is my house right now. This is what it looks like. I like the color red, green, purple, and yellow, so it just makes the judgment pretty coarse. Whoever judge me, they can like really just like stick it, because I really don't care. Well, anyway, I built that because my friend was like, you haven't done anything to your home. It looks like a gas station. So I said, you know what? Frig you, let me just do something. So here I am. Hop off my horse real quick. A donkey. And start spraying this thing. Okay, we destroyed them. That was pretty easy. I didn't get any bones from that though. It's just kind of lame. Sad. But I know I'm gonna get a bone from him. This guy's freaking uses bone everything he does. No? Experience? That's all I got? Come on, give me something else. Don't do me like this. That's some real bullcrap that you're doing. Ew, get over it. Like you had a part in this. And the dynamic strike. And the dynamic strike. The dynamic strike. What's in? 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Let's. Okay, I'm back. Can't be doing crap like that. Did I already defeat this guy? Yes, I did. Whoa. Come on, let's gallop out of here. I think we need to go to higher levels, maybe? Let me find my house. Yeah, let's just go to higher levels. If I see someone inside my house.
Now, I'm not saying these films did stir up evil spirits, but when you hear the story, it does make you think. So sit back, hit those buttons, and enjoy.
Bye.
What better way to start this video than with The Exorcist, a 1973 movie that was one of the first of its kind to be released, that is loosely based on the supposed real-life demonic possession of a child called Roland Doe and his exorcism in 1949. The film caused people to faint in the cinema and is still considered one of the greatest horror movies of all time. So when you hear things that happened during filming, you would swear to and letting the people know that what they were making a movie about. The set home of the McNeils was destroyed by the fire, but oddly, Regan McNeil, the 12-year-old possessed girl who the film is based around, was left completely intact. Then, in one of the scenes, the animals permanently damaged her back when a safety harness did not work correctly. The scream that she lets out in the movie is a real reaction to the pain. There were also very strange feelings of darkness on set that left the people involved wondering if they had made a mistake in making this movie. Then there are the deaths. Two of the actors featured in it died before its release, and the brother, Max von Sydow, the man who played Father Merrin, also mysteriously died on the first day of filming. But the worst is the story of Mercedes McCambridge, the lady who provided the terrifying voice of Regan Stephen. Life after filming was difficult, and her son ended up killing his wife and children before committing suicide. Now, we don't know the full story, but it's said that his suicide note was full of resentment towards his mother, to which, of course, full of thanks to the demonic nature of the movie. To top everything off, in a complete fluke occurrence, The Exorcist post-production editing was done at 666 Fifth Avenue in New York. So it could all be a coincidence, but there are too many strange deaths and occurrences surrounding The Exorcist for you not to see why people still believe that it stirred up something evil. The Possession. The 2012 film The Possession tells the story of a young girl who goes to the yard sale with her father and finds an antique wooden box. She discovers the hidden lock and opens it, releasing a malicious spirit called Dibbo, an evil spirit who should control. The girl soon becomes possessed, and the film follows her father and his ex-wife of them trying to rid her of the evil that's taken over. It's all loosely based on a story from 2000 about an old wine box called the Dibbo box that is currently owned by Jason Haxton that is said to have brought bad luck and trial to the film. While the film for the possession began in 2011, Jason Haxton asked the producer if he wanted to use the real Dibbo box. He refused, saying he was scared of it, and actor Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who is a skeptic, also agreed not to have it on set, as it was not worth the risk of causing bad luck or even death. Shortly after rejecting the real box, strange things started to happen on set. Director Alban Edel was stood underneath a turned-off neon light when it suddenly exploded without explanation. He said that of all the neon lights he'd been around, never has one exploded like this without reason. Jeffrey Morgan said this happened several times, and there were also other things that happened that were weird, such as cold drafts and closed-off areas and feelings that an invisible presence watching. By the end of filming, the cast and crew were pretty freaked out, but the strangest was to come. About 5 days after filming had finished, a storage house in Vancouver that contained all of the props for the movie, including the replica Dybbuk box, completely burned to the ground. After investigations, there was no reason for how or why the fire started, and it's still a mystery to this day. So was it just a coincidence, or was the real Dybbuk box curse responsible? The Passion of the Christ. Directed and produced by Mel Gibson, The Passion of the Christ chronicles the last 12 hours of Jesus' life. And despite religion being such a controversial subject, the film was a success and went on to become the highest-grossing religious movie of all time. But making a film like this came at a cost for those involved, and there was believed to have been some kind of evil curse associated with it. Let's start with Jim Caviezel, the actor who portrayed Jesus Christ. He was physically harmed during the filming of some of the brutal scenes. He dislocated his shoulder, was accidentally whipped, and was also allergic to the heavy makeup he had to wear, which gave him headaches and skin infections. That sounds like your usual actor problems, but it gets worse. During some of the filming, Jim suffered from hypothermia and was also hospitalized with pneumonia. And how about this? He and the assistant director were struck by lightning. The saying is that lightning never strikes twice, but it did. The assistant director was struck again, but was not seriously injured. When the film was finished, despite Caviezel's critical acclaim for his portrayal of Jesus, his career stalled and he has not starred in any high-profile films since. He said playing Jesus wrecked his career, which was something Mel Gibson warned him about. Speaking of Mel, people have linked his meltdown after filming to the curse. As soon after the movie was released, his 26-year marriage was in trouble. He was arrested in 1995 and battled alcoholic addiction for some years later. Religion is and always has been a controversial subject, and many believe that when scenes and events are exaggerated to the extent they were in this film, along with violence and images of Satan that you by the movie and was cursing those involved. What do you think? the Amityville Horror. If you know anything about the Amityville Horror, then you won't be surprised that the 1979 and 2005 film based on the paranormal activity at the Amityville house didn't come without its alleged curses. Now, if you don't already know about the story, it's said to be one of the most haunted homes in the world, after a man killed his father, mother, 2 brothers and 2 sisters there in 1974. While in the 1979 film, James Brolin, the actor who starred as George Lutz, the man who lived in the Amityville house and publicized his paranormal activity, as an encounter he lived out until he was reading through the Amityville Horror book. When he reached an especially tense part in the story, his clothes he had hung up ready for the morning fell to the ground. After this, he felt an eerie presence in the room and believed that there may be some truth to the events and agreed to sign up to the movie. Also, in 2005, Ryan Reynolds, who portrayed George Lutz in the remake, claimed while working on the movie, he would keep waking up at 3:15 in the morning. This was apparently the time that George Lutz would wake up each night, terrified after moving into the Amityville house, and it was also the estimated time that the original killing took place in the house. Now, Ryan said that this was a subconscious decision for him to wake up at that time, because he knew all about the story, or whether it was something that can't be explained. In another incident, started in the 2005 remake, just before filming got underway, the mysterious corpse of a fisherman was washed ashore very close to the set, and the original George Lutz unexpectedly dropped dead at the age of 59, just 4 weeks before the film was released. So were these strange events just a coincidence that could happen to any film, or was there something more sinister going on? What do you think? 1971, the Parent family moved into a rundown farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island, and more or less from the day they moved in, strange things started happening. Now, I won't go into too much detail because there's an in-depth article about it on the Top 5's website, but the family were believed to have been plagued by a dark being that took over Mrs. Parent, and it was attempted to be removed by heirs of Lorraine Warren, who performed the exorcism. Fast forward to 2013, and a film called The Conjuring was released that was based on the parents' experiences. But during its filming, there were several strange occurrences that scared the crew and cast, making them believe that paranormal beings were intervening. For starters, when screenwriters Chad and Corey Hayes started their research in the script, they would often have conversations with the Warrens via phone calls. But the calls would always have a lot of static interference and loss of connection that constantly interrupted their conversations. Lorraine Warren said this about it all. We're about to expose the dark side of the dark side, and it doesn't want good to win. I'm surprised there isn't a lot more interference. But the phone calls are just the start of the series of strange events. While sitting in his office late one night working on the film, director James Wan had a scary experience where his new puppy suddenly started growling at something. James turned around to see what his puppy was barking at, but there was nothing there. The puppy kept barking and was tracking something around the room, and James stated that he was so freaked out and realized that the story behind this movie was affecting him in a big way. When filming started, most of the Parent family visited the set, apart from the mother who refused to go anywhere near it. When the family arrived, there was apparently a dust of wind that swirled around them, and at the same time, Carolyn in Atlanta felt a dark presence and fell to the ground, causing her to need hospital treatment on her knee. Then, shortly after this incident, the cast and crew had to be evacuated from the hotel they were staying in after a randomly caught fire. That isn't the end of the chaos on set though. The actress Vera Farmiga said she felt uneasy whenever she read the scripts and refused to reverse them when she was alone or at night. Then, the strangest thing happened when one day she opened her laptop and it had 3 digital claw marks slashed across the screen. She said she cannot explain it as no one had touched her laptop since she was last using it. After the film was finished, she had returned to her home and woke up the next morning to find 3 scratch marks on her thigh that were not there when she went to bed. She was pretty scared and cannot explain how they got there, but she said she was not going to let VA get the better of her. So were these events just a fluke, or was the apparent dark entity that had been haunting the parents returned after all those years and targeted the crew and cast of The Conjuring? So there's 5 movies that are believed to have been cursed because of all the misfortune and strange occurrences that surrounded them. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next week for a super deep one I know will get you thinking.
And receive a code for a free movie ticket when you purchase 3 specially marked boxes of General Mills cereals. See package for details. And see Rogue One: A Star Wars Story, only in theaters.
Number 15. Elmo goes insane. Kill James. That's what a talking Elmo doll began to say at random one day in Lithia, Florida. The mother was changing the batteries for her toddler's toy when she noticed that it was saying her son's name and instructing him to die. The Elmo Knows Your Name doll is supposed to plug into the computer, learn your child's name, and say hi. It is definitely not supposed to learn the urge to kill. Fisher-Price manufactures the dolls, and they can offer no explanation as to why this one Elmo doll is bent on wanting to kill James. They ask the family to return the doll so that it can be studied and better understood. By this point, young James had begun to repeat the phrase himself. Number 14. Apologizing to Australia. Ayers Rock is a famous natural landmark in Australia that brings in 250,000 visitors from across the world each year. It is also home to the native Aboriginal population, otherwise known as Bushmen. Unfortunately, a lot of people want to disrespect the sacred site by taking a piece of rock back home with them. And when I say unfortunately, I mean for the tourists and not for the local tribes. That's because every year, hundreds of apologetic tourists mail their stolen rock fragments back to Australia. As their letters show, a large portion of them say they have been cursed with bad luck ever since they brought the souvenir back. Complaints of family deaths, divorces and illnesses are the top 3 common side effects of removing the rock from their natural habitat. By mailing the rocks back, cursed tourists hope they can reverse the damage that they have so foolishly brought upon themselves. Even though the natives tell them not to take rocks in the first place, tourists have been ignoring them since the 1970s. Some people just have to learn the hard way. Number 13. Curse of the Irish. Australia is not the only place for cursed rocks. The Blarney Stone in Ireland is known to bring good luck to anyone who kisses it, but this logic does not apply to the rest of the castle. If you want to take a piece of the Blarney Castle home with you, you'll get a curse instead. Much like Ayers Rock, regretful tourists often mail their stolen stone fragments back to Ireland with letters of apology explaining how they have been cursed. One of these people is Linda Kelly, Blarney Castle at a yard sale for $1. Its previous owner was a priest who had died alone and in misery. When she took the rock home, her life changed immediately, and not for the better. First, Kelly felt extremely depressed for no explainable reason at all. She also had employment problems right away, even though she was usually excellent at her job. Soon, she started hanging around the house all the time and could not seem to even move. When she received a huge late notice in the mail for a bill she knew she had already paid, she decided to mail the stolen piece of the Blarney Castle back to Ireland. She started to feel better right away and knew she made the right decision. Otherwise, Kelly was sure that she would have ended up like the unlucky priest before her. Number 12. The worst phone number in the world. While this one is technically not a physical object, it is still cursed and brings bad luck to all those who come across it. I'm talking about a mobile phone number that is so dangerous, no one in the world will accept it. That's because every single person who has been given this phone number, 0888 888 888, has died. Vladimir Krasnov was the first to go in 2001. This CEO of a Bulgarian company called Mesiah-KING died of cancer when he was only 48. Next was a Bulgarian crime mafia boss named Konstantin Dimitrov. He was given the cursed number. It was killed by a hitman at a restaurant soon after. A cocaine drug lord named Konstantin Dishlev got the number next. He was shot outside of a restaurant immediately after. Police suspended the number for a bit to investigate, but the Bulgarian phone company decided to pull the number for good. It's out of service for everyone's safety. Number 11. Cursed in China. In 1974, a team of 7 peasant farmers came across a priceless discovery in their small village of Yang. As they were working the earth, one of them spotted a tiny head sticking out of the ground. They could tell the object was extremely old and were afraid to touch it at first, but one of them wanted cigarette money, so he broke a piece of it off to take back to town. That is where their problems began. The farmers told others about what they had found, and soon archaeologists came from all over to dig the relics out. In total, over 8,000 miniature figures were recovered. These figures were made out of a clay-like substance called terracotta. This was a complete replica of the ancient Chinese army, and these figurines had been buried with the first emperor of China to protect him in the afterlife. They were more than 2,000 years old and extremely valuable, but also quite cursed. The 7 peasants who found the terracotta army suffered horribly. Instead of making any money, their farmland was taken from them by the government, and their homes were destroyed to make room for government gift shops and museum exhibits. Some of the peasants died at an early age, and the rest of them now sign books in the museum for next to no pay. Almost all of their village believes that this is payback for disturbing the great emperor's cursed army. Number 10. Roberts in the Attic. If you've ever watched Chucky from the Child's Play movies, then you should know about the actual doll that inspired him. This doll is named Robert, and instead of wearing overall suspenders and having long red hair, this doll sports a creepy sailor suit, black eyes, and holes all over his face. The doll's original owner was a young boy who was also named Robert, and went by the name of Gene instead, because Eugene was his middle name. Many people believe that the sailor suit Robert wears is a real one that Gene himself used to wear. Gene loved the doll so much that he absolutely refused to part with it, even after becoming an adult. Instead, the doll went with him everywhere until he died in 1974. A woman named Myrtle Reuter soon bought the property and found Robert the doll still inside. Her 10-year-old daughter remembers that the doll was alive, and she believes to this day that he constantly plotted to kill her. She and other visitors recall hearing footsteps in the attic where Robert stayed. He would also move to different areas of the house on his own. In 1994, Myrtle decided she had enough and donated Robert to a museum. You can view him in Key West, Florida, for yourself, if you ever feel like you need a new friend. Number 9. King Tut hates your pets. King Tut was an Egyptian ruler who died at the age of 19. Although he did relatively little during his 9 years as pharaoh, his cursed tomb has made him immensely famous years after death. Here's what happened. British explorers seem to love sticking their noses in the most haunted places of the world, and in 1891, Howard Carter figured he would continue the trend. He went to Egypt and walked around there for almost 3 decades, until he finally came across Tut's tomb in the early 1920s. You would think that they opened the coffin and there Tut was. That's not exactly what happened. First, they opened the coffin and found a smaller coffin inside. Inside of that was an even smaller coffin. And inside of that was a third coffin that was made of gold. King Tut was inside. Lord Carnarvon accompanied Howard to the tomb and was responsible for funding the excavation. All of his pets died, and he himself died of a mosquito bite shortly thereafter. The technician who x-rayed King Tut died as well. A wealthy visitor who wanted to see the tomb died, and another member of Howard's team is thought to have somehow died of arsenic poisoning. Howard himself did not die, but it is said that a cobra ate his pet canary on the same day that he found the tomb. Number 8. Donna's doll. Donna was turning 28 years old and was going to school as a nursing student in the year 1970. Her mother got her a Raggedy Ann doll to keep her company while she was away at college. It would soon prove to become the worst gift she had ever received. Donna and her roommate would come home to find the doll in different positions all around the house. Sometimes its arms were folded, and other times it was found leaning against a chair. Sometimes the Raggedy Ann doll would even be kneeling. If you've ever seen a Raggedy Ann doll before, you'd know that it was impossible for Donna to put the doll in a kneeling position without it falling over. So they really had no idea what to make of this. Things only continued to get worse. Somebody started leaving short messages around the house that said things like, "Help us." Her roommate's fiancé claimed to have been attacked by the doll on 2 separate occasions. When Donna came home to find spots of blood on the doll's hand and chest, she contacted a paranormal investigation team for answers. The 2 investigators, named Ed and Lorraine Warren, determined that the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins was to blame. She had been killed, and her body had been found in the exact same area where Donna now lived, except it was just a bare field back then. Donna and her roommate gave Annabelle permission to live inside of the doll. They gave it to the Warrens for safekeeping. The doll, possessed by Annabelle, is now in a paranormal museum owned by the Warrens, and she is still causing trouble. According to them, one visitor in particular would not stop mocking Annabelle. He challenged her to bring him harm, and she accepted. According to the Warrens, on his way home, the man hit a tree while riding his motorcycle and did not survive. Number 7. The Salty Ghost. There's a haunted mansion in Newport, Rhode Island, with 2 very haunted chairs. The Belcourt Mansion was built in 1894 by Oliver Belcourt. He was just basically some rich guy who wanted a place to show off his huge collection of medieval stuff. Unfortunately, when you put it on old armor, books and other antiques under the same roof, you sometimes wind up with a completely haunted estate. And that's exactly what happened. And the place is now home to 2 haunted salt chairs. If you're wondering what a salt chair is, it's basically a chair that was made especially for the person who was sitting closest to the salt during meals. Salt used to be a precious resource a long time ago, and so, sitting by the salt was a big enough deal that you got a special chair for it. Apparently, whoever was in charge of the salt back then still lingers around the chairs to this day. They don't want to give up their position as head of the table. Visitors who sit in either 2 of the salt chairs reportedly feel anxious, ill, or even like they're being electrocuted. One of the chairs even shot out a bolt of lightning in front of 70 witnesses, the mansion owner says. Another time, a person was launched 6 feet across the room when they tried to sit down. Oftentimes, visitors who are brave enough to take a seat say that it feels like there's already somebody sitting there. There's also a haunted helmet that screams on its own, and a fixed mirror that casts a moving reflection. But we like the ghost who throws people on the floor the most. Number 6. The Iceman Cometh. Ötzi is the name of a prehistoric caveman who was preserved by the cold climate of the Italian Alps. Many scientists believe he was a shepherd who was murdered by other cavemen for his animal herd, which could be why his very body itself appears to be cursed and out for revenge. For whatever reason, he just can't seem to stop killing almost everyone who disturbs him. Ötzi was discovered in 1991 by two German tourists. One of the tourists, a man named Helmut Simon, who later died in almost the exact same spot he made the discovery, years later in 2004. He fell to his death during a freak blizzard that no one had seen coming. He is far from alone. The person in charge of the rescue team for Helmut seemed to be punished for interfering. He died of an unexpected heart attack by age 45, just 1 hour after Helmut's funeral. Ötzi is believed to have claimed many other lives through accidents and mysterious illnesses. The first archaeologist who ever looked at Ötzi died. The head of the forensic team that examined Ötzi died as well. The mountain climber who brought the forensic team to Ötzi died. And as for the man who filmed Ötzi while he was being removed from his grave, he lived. Just kidding, he died of brain cancer. Seriously, don't mess with Ötzi. Number 5. The hot seat. Daniel Ortiz was a 17th century English crook who liked to make counterfeit coins for a dishonest living. His illegal operation was going wrong until his partner in crime, a man by the name of Thomas Busby, fell in love with his beautiful daughter, Elizabeth. This caused a rift to form between the two men, and in 1702, Thomas beat Daniel to death with the very same hammer that Daniel used to forge fake coins. Thomas was sentenced to death for his crime. On his way to be hung, he asked to stop at the local pub for a drink. While sitting in his favorite chair, Thomas announces that this seat is officially cursed, and anyone who sits in it from this day forward will die most unpleasantly. People might have laughed it off at the time, but it seems that Thomas was not playing around. Local townsfolk say that Thomas's curse has claimed the lives of 63 people since then, but only a small portion of them have been officially documented. In 1967, two pilots from the Royal Air Force each sat in a chair. They both died in a fatal car crash that same night.
To be untrained, it appears as chaos.
Be documented. They both died in a fatal car crash that same night. Years later, a brave mason fell to his death that very afternoon. Other instances include a roofer who had a roof collapse from under him, a cleaning lady who soon died of a mysterious brain tumor, and a delivery man who died in a car crash just within 1 hour of sitting in the cursed chair. The chair is now suspended high up on the wall in the museum, just so nobody sits on Thomas's favorite chair and activates Thomas's favorite curse. Number 4. The Little Bastard. James Dean was a 1950s actor who was basically seen by many as the coolest person on earth at the time. His favorite car, however, is almost equally as famous as he was, for completely different reasons. James Dean's souped-up Porsche 5050 Spider was nicknamed Little Bastard because it looked like one mean car on the road. But even when it was off the road, it was still in trouble. When James Dean had the car in the shop to get it upgraded, for example, the car jumped off the trailer and broke the mechanic's leg. One day, Alec Guinness, who is the same guy that played Obi-Wan in the Star Wars movies, was hanging out with James Dean. He told Dean that he would be dead in that car within a week. Sure enough, Dean wrecked 7 days later in a fatal accident. But his car wasn't through with humanity yet. The same mechanic who had his leg crushed later sold some of the parts from James Dean's car. He sold the engine and drivetrain to 2 race car drivers. They each had 2 separate accidents in the same race. One overturned their vehicle and seriously injured himself. The other hit a tree and died. Both of Little Bastard's tires were sold too, and they both blew out at the exact same time, nearly costing the driver their life. Then, thieves broke into the mechanic's garage one day to try and steal car parts. When they came across Dean's car, they both seriously injured themselves. One managed to rip their arm wide open. Number 3. No hope for you. The Hope Diamond is a huge 44-carat gemstone that was found in a 17th century mineshaft in India. According to the legend, it was stolen from a group of priests who went on to put a curse on it to get their revenge. Ever since then, anyone who possesses the diamond, from historic figures of royalty to simple mailmen, have experienced great misfortune. King Louis XIV bought the gemstone and soon died of gangrene. All of his biological children also died except for one. One of his assistants wore the Hope Diamond for a special event. A little while later, this assistant was exiled from the country. Louis XVI was given the Hope Diamond and he supposedly let his wife wear it. She was the Queen of France, Marie Antoinette, who would later have her head chopped off during the French Revolution. The list of people who died or were injured while owning the Hope Diamond goes on and on. A Dutch jeweler was killed by his son. A Greek dealer drove off a cliff and killed himself and his entire family. A rich woman had her entire family die off one by one, and even the poor delivery man wasn't spared. In 1958, James Todd dropped the Hope Diamond off at the Smithsonian Museum. By 1959, he had gotten into 2 different car accidents. One crushed his leg, and the other gave him a head injury. His wife died, his dog died, and half his house burned down. Number 2. India's Dark Secret. The Hope Diamond is not the only cursed gem from India. The Delhi Purple Sapphire was first recovered from the Temple of Indra by British explorers in 1857. In the Hindu religion, Indra is the most powerful god of them all, and as everyone soon found out, also probably the last god you'd ever want to anger. An Englishman named Corporal W. Ferris brought the gem back with him. Soon afterwards, everyone in his family had health issues and lost their money. When a family friend held on to the Delhi Purple Sapphire for a bit, they committed suicide. Over 30 years after its discovery, a writer named Edward Heron Allen eventually acquired the gem. He was not a superstitious man in the slightest, but after experiencing a rash of bad luck, he passed it on to his friends to see if the alleged curse would continue. One friend became extremely ill from a number of different health complications, and another friend, who was a singer, lost her voice forever. The gem seemed to go after a person's very livelihood, taking away whatever they enjoyed in life the most. By this point, Edward had seen enough of the gem's destructiveness, and he threw it into a canal to rid himself of it once and for all. Imagine his surprise when a gemstone dealer showed him the same Delhi Purple Sapphire that he had thrown in the canal shortly thereafter. It had found its way back to him. Edward bought the gem on the spot, though exactly wise and clear. Maybe he wanted to keep other people safe from its curse. Maybe he was accepting his fate. Either way, he eventually donated it to a museum because he was going to have a daughter and he wanted her nowhere near the thing. By the way, museum workers have suffered horrible health problems both times that the sapphire has been transported. Number 1. The Passion of the Curse. In 2004, Mel Gibson directed The Passion of the Christ, a movie which reenacts the biblical events leading up to the crucifixion of Christ and his resurrection. The movie received a lot of criticism for its touchy subject matter, and some people believe that God himself gave it 2 thumbs down by cursing the entire set. Mel Gibson chose Jim Caviezel to play Jesus Christ. During his role, all kinds of accidents happened to him. Jim got pneumonia, dislocated his shoulder, and even had a huge chunk of flesh taken out of him during the whipping scene. Then there's the lightning too. While filming one scene, lightning struck Jim straight in the head. When an assistant named John Michelini ran out to check on Jim, lightning struck him too. Unbelievably, this was the third time that lightning had hit the set. John the assistant had been struck once before. During an interview with the Christian Broadcasting Network, Jim says that he knew lightning was going to hit him a full 4 seconds before he was struck. Something inside of him felt that it was coming. Hello everyone, it's Aim again, and thank you so much for watching another episode of Top 15s. I would really appreciate it if you would check out my YouTube channel and my podcast, Mr. Smile. You can find links to both in the description. I hope to see you next time.
Number 15, Towards Moving. Tom Buckmaster runs a series where he investigates his supposedly haunted home. He claims that this was never the goal for his